Nausicaa stood her ground and replied, "Stranger, you do not seem like a bad man or a foolish man, but happiness is something which Olympian Zeus above allots to men, whether good or bad, to each according to his will. Your fortune is what he has given you, and you must endure it in any case. But now that you have come to our country, you shall not lack for clothes or anything else which it is proper that any forlorn wanderer may have for the asking. I will show you the way to town, and I will tell you what this nation is called. This is the country of the Phaeacians. I am the daughter of Prince Alcinoüs, their king and ruler." Then she called to her maids and said, "Stand still, my girls. Why do you run off at the sight of this poor fellow? You don't think he's an enemy, do you? There is no living man upon the earth, and never shall be, who would come into the Phaeacian land to do harm to its people, for they are dear to the immortals. Our home lies far away in the sea, out of sight of land, at the end of the earth, and no other mortal men visit us. But here is a poor homeless man, and you must look after him. God sends the stranger and the beggar man. We gladly give, not much, but all we can. Come along, girls. Give this stranger something to eat and drink, and a bath in the river where he can find shelter from the wind." The girls stood still, calling to one another, and they brought Odysseus to a sheltered place as the princess told them to do. They laid a wrap beside him and a tunic, and gave him the golden flask of olive oil, and bade him go into the river for his bath. Then Odysseus said to the maids, "Just stand a little way off, good maids, while I wash the salt off my shoulders by myself and give them a rub with the oil. It is long since my skin knew what oil feels like. I will not wash before you, for I am too shy to show myself naked before a lot of pretty girls." Accordingly they went and told the princess all about it. Then Odysseus waded into the river and washed himself clean from the salt which covered his back and broad shoulders, and wiped off the scruff of brine from his head. When he had washed all clean and rubbed himself with oil and put on the clothes which the princess had provided, Athena, daughter of Zeus, made him taller and stronger to look at, and gave him a crop of bushy hair, like a cluster of hyacinth flowers. As when a plating of gold is laid over silver by some clever craftsman who has learnt all the secrets of his art from Hephaestus and Pallas Athena, and knows how to make works full of grace, so Athena covered his head and shoulders with beauty. Then he walked away to the seashore, shining with comeliness and grace, and the girl gazed at him. She turned to her attendants and said, "Listen to me, pretty ones. I have something to say. The hand of the gods is in this. They who rule Olympus have sent this man to visit the Phaeacians, who are of their own kindred. When I saw him, I thought him an ugly creature, but now he is like one of the gods who rule the broad heavens. I only wish that I might have one like him for my husband. I wish it might please him to stay here and live with us. Come, my girls, give him something to eat and drink." They hastened to obey and set food and drink before Odysseus, and Odysseus ate and drank heartily after all his tribulations, and it was long since he had had anything to eat. But Nausicaa had other things to think of. She folded up the clothes and packed them into the wagon and yoked the sturdy mules and got in herself. Then she called to Odysseus that they must be going. She said, "Now then, stranger, up with you and let us go on to the town. I will make you to my wise father's house, where I promise you shall become acquainted with all the best men of the nation. But this is what you must do. You seem to have your share of good sense. So long as we are still in the country among the farms, you must follow smartly with the maids behind the cart, and I will lead the way. But when we reach the city, which has a lofty wall around it, with a fine harbor on each side and only a narrow approach, the galleys are drawn up there along the road, and each man has a slip for his own. There is their meeting place round about the precinct of Poseidon, and it is full of great blocks of stone bedded in the earth. There the men are busy about the tackle of their black ships, making ropes and sails and planing down their oars, for the Phaeacians care nothing for bow and quiver, but only masts and oars, and the ships with their fine lines. These are their delight as they cross the hoary sea. Well, I want to avoid any unkind gossip among the people, or someone might blame me afterwards. They are very high and mighty in our town. Some evil-minded person might say, if he met us, 'Who is this fine big stranger with Nausicaa? Where did she pick him up? Will he be a husband for her, no doubt? Some wandering soul she has brought from this ship must be a foreigner from a distance, for there is nobody near us. Perhaps she had tried out some god with her prayers, and down he comes from heaven to have her for evermore. A good job if she has gone herself and picked up a husband from somewhere else, for she only turns up her nose at the young men of our nation who are all after her, and good men too. That's what they will say, and it might bring me into disgrace. Indeed, I should not approve of any girl who did such a thing, flying in the face of her friends with father and mother to teach her better, if she has anything to do with the men before it comes to marriage, open and above broad. Now then, sir, be quick and understand what I say, if you wish to have escort and safe conduct from my father. You will find a fine grove of Athena close to the road, poplar trees with a spring bubbling up inside, and a meadow all round. There is my father's park and the orchard, full of fruit, as far from the city as a man's voice will carry. Sit down there and wait long enough for us to get into the city and reach my father's mansion. When you think we have got there, enter the city yourself and ask the way to the mansion of Prince Alcenios. It is easy to know it. A little child could lead you, for the other houses are not like the house of the royal Prince Alcenios. When you are within the house, you must enter the hall and pass along quickly until you come to my mother. She is the sight worth seeing. There she sits at the hearth in the firelight, twisting her purple yarn close up to a pillar, and the serving women sit behind. My father's throne is placed near to hers, and there he sits, quaffing his wine like a god. Pass him by and lay your hands on my mother's knees, that you may see the day of your homecoming and be happy soon, even if you come from a long way off. If she is pleased with you, there is good hope that you will set eyes on your friends and come to see your own fine house in your native land. When she had said this, she touched up the mules with her shining whip, and they soon left the river behind them. Quickly they trotted along, quickly their toes went weaving, but she drove just so fast that Odysseus and the maids could follow on foot. She flicked the lash with judgment. The sun went down, and they came to the famous grove sacred to Athena, and there Odysseus took a seat. Then he prayed to the daughter of great Zeus. Hear me, daughter of Zeus Almighty, Atritone. Hear me now at least, since formerly thou didst not hear what a blow I had when the famous Earthshaker struck me. Grant me to come among the Phaeacians as a friend, and one worthy of compassion. Thus he prayed, and Pallas Athena heard him. But she did not show herself to him face to face, for she stood in awe of her father's brother Poseidon, and he was furiously angry with the hero Odysseus until he reached his own land.